You're watching the Eternal Tournament Series.
Hello and welcome back for the top 8 of the Week 1 ETS Open here in Season number 2. I am TheSkeeJay, being joined, of course, by Gabe, aka Calimdir. Ready for this top 8 matchup?
Oh yeah, definitely ready for this. Let's just go over the bracket super quickly. We got in Seed 1, Moosh versus Child Roland. It's going to be Artport Midrange versus Darkheart. Then we have Vampus versus Paradox, which is going to be Huru versus Argenport. Then we have Notorious GHP versus Tin Man, which is going to be Scream versus Tin Man on
It on Chalice.
On Chalice. And then we have this match here, which is Pupicitus, our last Argenport player against our second Scream player. So a lot of Argenport, but 2 Scream, Darkheart, and Huru. So interesting top 8 here. And super interesting that we get to watch one of the fun Scream matchups here in top 8.
Yeah, Pupicitus on a pretty stock Argenport deck. We've seen it quite a bit already today. This one is playing Argenport Instigator over the more traditional Crown Watch Paladin in the more recent versions. Other than that, pretty stock Tavrod Inquisitor's Blade, Crown Trader, the usual stuff. The deck we really want to talk about is Romanova's Scream deck, which is actually not playing any Beast Callers, but is playing Gorgon Fanatics and Rindras as well.
Yeah, so this deck, I think, actually came into inception thanks to the old brains over at Tadavath and Overmaster, if you know who those kooky guys are. And they got into this weird idea of playing Combust, Grenadin Drone, Madness, but also Haunting Scream as just like a tempo deck. And that's kind of what we see here. It's just a lot of really, really, really efficient cards and a lot of synergy. It's just that there's a lot of moving parts. So it'll be interesting to see how Romanova maneuvers this matchup.
Right. It's a highly synergistic deck. So if it gets interrupted somewhere along the way, it can tend to stumble. But, just good threats like Rindra, Torgov are a lot of times good enough just to win the game on their own. The interesting thing to note about this deck, outside of just like the spells that they're playing and the units they're playing, there's no basic sigils in this deck. They're opting to play all the Waystones that they can and all the crests that they can, and just not playing any copies of any basic sigils.
Yeah, who needs them, huh?
No, you got Waystones.
We need our influence, buddy. Okay, we're not trying to play stuff on curve. That's for chumps.
Waystones are strictly better. They do stuff. Game goes underway. Romanova Scouts keeps a torch on the top. Fast turn back. Pupicitus' second turn is just a depleted power Argenport banner. Romanova takes his turn.
From Pupicitus there, just 2, 3, and Tavrod. Any hand with Tavrod is pretty good, by the way.
That's pretty much been confirmed by now. Get stuck on 2. Get stuck on 2. Got 3 Tavrods. I win.
Yeah. Yeah, classic maneuver from Argenport. So we see this torch efficiently answer this Argenport Instigator. Valkyrie Enforcer, not great here, but still, like we said, 3/3 flyer for 3 can only be so bad. And dumping that Gorgon Fanatic into the void with Quarry with a Haunting Scream in hand, that's going to be huge.
Yeah, it's one of the cool things about Quarry is like it's not only drawing you a card. A lot of times it's also stocking your void with things that need to that want to go in the void. Such as an instance right now where Haunting Scream is going to get back that Fanatic. Pupicitus can't really do anything about it. All his interaction is slow speed. And that's what Haunting Scream decks aim to do, is really punish those like Slay, Vanquish, Harsh Rule decks by just playing charging units that aren't even there, like on the following turn.
Yeah, and we didn't really talk about the matchup, but I actually think this is a good matchup for Scream. I think that Argenport just is so linear that Madness is super good against it and things like that. It's just that the Feln Scream deck or the Felnscar Scream deck can very easily lose to itself. So we'll see. But right now it's looking pretty good for a Romanova.
Romanova has the opening that he wanted. He's kind of slowed down here, though. He does have a 3-costed Torgov and a Rindra that he's able to play next turn, either or, obviously. You can also Dark Return a Gorgon Fanatic if he wants to just draw 3 cards, because why not?
Yeah, who doesn't want to draw 3 cards and gain 3 life and deal 4 damage, all right? That is a pretty sweet card for 4.
Attack for 2 from the Assassin knocks Romanova down to 26 health. Felon Banner is the draw for turn. We're going to see Dark Return on the Gorgon Fanatic be the play. Three more cards probably coming. Unless there's like a pretty crazy misclick because it just falls to 15. Romanova up to 29.
Yeah, now look at this.
Full grip of cards.
Devour, Permafrost, so much advantage here, so much efficient removal with Permafrost, Combust. A Madness comes to, if a Madness gets drawn at any point, I think a Romanova just cleans this up.
Yeah, interesting. Worth noting, we didn't mention it at the top of the round, but there's actually a best of 5. Just to be clear,
Right.
They're not going to be sideboarding after this game. They're going to be sideboarding after game number 2, which I think definitely favors a Romanova. I think getting two.
Yes.
I think two main, like, one of the reasons the Felon Scream deck is able to exist and be as powerful as it is the fact that Argenport is as popular as it is. Like, it's just
Right.
it's meant to prey on it. So getting 2 of those pre-boarded games in just ahead of time, and then you worry about the sideboards, like you only have to win 1 of the sideboarded games. I think you're going to be okay if you're able to take care of business in the first 2 rounds.
I mean, I don't think it gets much better for Propicitus post-board. There's not really much he can bring in that's good. He's got Dark Return, Suffocate, Annihilate, which doesn't hit any of the important cards, Runehammer, which doesn't care about, is pretty bad against charge units, and Makto, which is just even slower. Whereas on the other side, I think it gets better for Romanova.
Yeah, very much does, actually. As you start bringing in like sabotages to get rid of like those removal spells, recurring nightmare as a way to just like win the game. Yeah.
But here comes
Tavrod
a
is the
giant
play.
Tavrod. Madness Combust is going to do a lot of work here, though.
Oh yeah, Madness Combust. I mean, that's
he gets his own Tavrod trigger. He gets to throw a bunch of stuff in his void for Haunting Scream, and then combust it away.
If Romanova had another Haunting Scream, or not quite a Dark Return, he was 1 power short, but he would have just had lethal pretty easily this turn. Instead, he's got to go with the silly Madness Combust play, take care of this 7/9 Tavrod and the 4/3 Arc Interrogator.
Yeah, didn't actually putting stuff in the void actually didn't really matter because he already had that Gorgon Fanatic, and it's not like Propicitus has any void interaction, so it's not like any new targets are going to ever be relevant, but still interesting.
Romanova's pretty close to just winning this game through Nightfall damage. He has Rindra and Nocturnal Observer both in his hand. If he can find another point of damage, it's actually going to do it anyway.
Or, attacking, just a couple ways. Permafrost doesn't deal with Tavrod, though, so there's that. He's got that going for him. Now,
Propicitus, being mindful of Haunting Scream and Dark Return, might want to leave this Valkyrie Enforcer back. We know Romanova doesn't have it, but Propicitus has no way of knowing that, and he's got to feel like he still has a reasonable chance to win this game.
Yeah, I mean, right now, Romanova doesn't have great attacks. This Torgov can attack, but it's going to take a little bit to get online. There are a few turns for Propicitus.
Romanova can play both Torgovs this turn. Propicitus has the answers. He's got Slay and Vanquish in hand.
Right.
So that's going to be kind of rough for him. The Gorgon Fanatic is the pickup for Romanova. Quarry looking for a way to get back Gorgon Fanatic, because that would just win the game for Permafrost. That is the third Nightfall trigger.
Interesting that he goes for the 2 cost.
Right. Well, that's just he's gonna Madness this Valkyrie Enforcer. He's gonna win the game that way. Doesn't need the Nightfall. You just need a Madness. It took me a second to figure out why he drew the card. I was like, wait, what drew the card? Oh yeah, Nocturnal Observer has words on it. It's not just Nightfall.
Yep.
So the activation on Nocturnal Observer picks up a Madness. Madness is going to take away the Valkyrie Enforcer. Attack for 3, wins the game. Romanova is going to quickly go up 1-0 over Propicitus' Argenport mid-range deck. We should quickly be going into game number 2, as there's not much to think about in terms of sideboarding when, well, you're not allowed to.
But do players know that?
Oftentimes they don't. I feel like at least every week there's at least one game where someone like sideboards is when they're not supposed to. But
yeah,
we will
so just confirming that both players know what's going on. Okay, cool. Oh, it turns out players both challenged each other and got that bug.
Oh, well done. All right, as they are ready to go into game number 2. Romanova up a game on Pupicitus. Take a look at some opening hands, and Romanova's got to be not too excited about the Granite Waystone, no other power hand.
But on a Romanova's side now with this mulligan, Combust plus Granite Drone plus Torch is a lot of efficient removal, and there's the key Gorgon Fanatic.
Yeah, Gorgon Fanatic is going to be able to come down on turn 3. Pupicitus has 1 Justice Source, 3 Shadow Sigils of Vara's favor. The Crown Watch Trader and Unseen Commando in his hand can't do anything, as all he does is draw another Vara's favor for his second turn.
Yeah, wow. Pupicitus really needs some action here or a Justice Source.
Yeah, I mean, if he finds a Justice Source, it's actually going to be in okay shape. He'll be able to play the Commando and the Trader, but until that happens, he's kind of just sitting dead. He chooses not to play the Vara's favor. He realizes there's enough targets in his opponent's deck.
There's a Scream. Yeah. Pupicitus does not have a lot of time to get going in this matchup because Romanova is going to take over very, very quickly. Yeah,
Quarry is going to be the play. Dark Return for free is the pickup from Romanova, and that's a huge deal once you can start considering Haunting Scream to back Gorgon Fanatics. Just draw them back for free.
So Romanova played this in such a way where he is going to take a turn longer to play Gorgon Fanatic. Had he played the Grenadier Drone, he could have then played Feln Banner now or something like that.
Right. But yeah,
I don't know. I mean, I guess he can still play Gorgon Fanatic here, but it's could have played it potentially last turn.
Right, and that would be activating on this turn because he would have a torch available for the Interrogator, but chooses to just wait a turn, which is not the end of the world when like his hand is Haunting Scream, Dark Return, the Granite Drones can like enable Combust. Romanova's got a good enough hand that he actually can wait a turn. It doesn't have to do everything like on time, super like fast and efficiently. He's going to be just fine on that front.
I actually don't like the holding up torch. I think I would have liked to have seen Romanova just play the torch out on his main phase just because of cards like Bloodletter and things like that. Don't really want to let Pupicitus draw an extra card.
Right, he would draw an extra card and there's nothing like, you can't even kill the thing anymore.
Yeah, I mean, you have Combust, but I think that you're going to want to save Combust for something like Tavrod. But here comes Haunting Scream, and this is where Romanova just starts to take over the game.
Yeah, 3 cards coming. Like you heard Tavrod. Tavrod draws 2 cards. This is 3.
Yeah, I mean, Tavrod does have some other, +4-ish text or whatever, but, that's not relevant.
No. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if you can't play it.
Yeah, exactly.
The Gorgon Fanatic, 3 new cards. He's got another Haunting Scream, another Dark Return, a couple Grenadins coming out.
And these Grenadin drones are pretty annoying for Pupicitus. Blocks the Crown Watch Trader, fuel for Combust.
Well, the nice thing is, like,
scenario really difficult.
Yeah, being able to hold up Torch on the Crown Watch Trader turn is always a delight.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't have a chance to flip and kill your torches.
2 more Screams and 2 Dark Returns. Look, I don't care what you were saying. Look at this. Dark Return, Gorgon Fanatic twice, and then just 2 more Screams. This is just too much advantage.
Yep,
What's
and
he gonna do?
This is the beauty of what the Haunting Scream decks do is, there's a Vanquish in Pupicitus' hand. He's never going to be able to play that card on this Gorgon Fanatic. It's always just going to hit for 4 and draw 3 cards, or hit for 5, or now hit for 6 as he picks up a third copy of Dark Return.
Oh my goodness.
And with this Waystone in hand for Romanova too, that's a Nightfall trigger. We'll see if that ever becomes relevant. I can't imagine that it will, but Nightfall is always something to keep.
At what point is this just better than Channel the Tempest? I mean, that's what's happening here. He's
drawn 6 cards and dealt 7 damage for 3, 4.
Yeah, the power is
power?
definitely the power versus effect is definitely in the favor of Dark Return here.
Yes, Dark Return.
And also you're gaining life. Like, wow.
This Gorgon Fanatic is just causing fits for Pupicitus. Attack for 8 comes in. Pupicitus falls down to 8. Gorgon Fanatic draws 3 more cards, and with another Dark Return in hand, 3 Haunting Screams. There's very, very, very few ways Pupicitus can come back. His hand being Vanquish and Bloodletter and a power. Just very little he can do. He's got to have to draw something very specific, and I don't know if Valkyrie Enforcer is going to do it.
Is the only he has to play a flying blocker. Every flying blocker gets killed by literally anything, and it just I don't think that there is a draw at all in Publicita's deck that gets him out at all.
No, there's really not. We're gonna see a Romanova probably combust as Valkyrie Enforcer and then still dark, like have enough power to Dark Return the Fnatic. That's an attack for exactly 8.
Yep. Can even scream back a Grenade and Drone for extra damage. Whatever he wants to do.
It's all free.
Yeah.
So yeah, Physidus trying to come to terms with the fact that wow, my opponent drew his entire deck, all of his Dark Returns, all of his Haunting Screams, and we're gonna have to go to the sideboard of games, and I have to win 3 in a row, and that's gonna be tough.
Yeah, it's gonna be very tough, especially because he doesn't have any sideboard options really for this matchup. That's not really what Physidus was prepared for. And I think Physidus brought obviously a very good deck, and got to top 8 pretty handedly. But this matchup is Romanova just. This Scream deck is very good against these fair removal pile decks, especially with no fast speed removal for Fnatic. It's just so difficult, and Nightfall cleans it up.
Yeah, Nightfall will end the game. Romanova had multiple lethal lines. He went with the Nightfall one, which is certainly the most fun. So, all right. 2 games in. The Scream deck has looked very, very impressive. Very, very tough for Argenport to handle on the axis that it fights on. We go to the sideboard of games where Pipicitus can bring in a couple of Dark Returns, 3 Suffocates, 4 Annihilates, 3 Runehammers, and 3 Moktos. Is there anything there that can help him?
I think cutting down on some dead removal, like cutting down on Vanquishes, will help out. You can bring in Dark Returns or Suffocates or Moktos, like you said. I think just making the deck a little less dead, like cutting some of your dead cards, making it a little more threat dense, I think will help. I think we just saw very, very good draws. We saw the Gorgon Fnatic. There's only 4 in the deck for, you can only run 4. So if a Romanova doesn't draw a Gorgon Fnatic, both of those games look really, really different. And the Argenport deck kind of stumbled game 2 at least. So I think we could very easily see the Felnscar deck kind of just lose to itself a little bit, not find that Gorgon Fnatic, and Argenport just do its thing. Because Argenport does not give you a lot of time to set up. It is fairly aggressive. So I don't think
Argenport's
it's out
good
of the
draws.
question.
Argenport's good draws a lot of times still going to be good enough. Although when you consider cards like Madness to like really interfere with like what you can really do, it gets really tough to play around everything the Felnscar Scream deck can throw at you. And I think the Felnscar Scream deck, it may just get better, but it might not even want any of these cards. It's got 3 Islands Interventions, a Permafrost, 4 Sabotages, 2 Annihilates, 3 Treacheries, 2 Recurring Nightmares. It's honestly entirely possible. Their main deck is good enough in the matchup. There's no reason to try to dilute it with anything else.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree a little bit. I think Annihilate is okay, but you're already running so much removal. You might maybe cut, Permafrost or something like that for some Annihilates.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's going to be very minimal sideboarding.
Yeah, like there's a world where Recurring Nightmare is good enough, but the opponent's deck does play flyers. Not like you're just going to run into a bunch of ground units. So,
so sorry for interrupting you. I just thought about it. All the targets that Permafrost hit, or all the units that don't have endurance, are also monofaction. So Annihilate and Permafrost hit the exact same targets in the deck. So I guess.
So yeah, in that case, Permafrost is just better.
Better, but I mean, Annihilate gets rid of Interrogator, so he doesn't draw cards, and it's fast speed. It's like as close as it gets, basically.
Yeah, they are very, very similar in the matchup. The FPS Scream deck is very, very synergistic. So once you start sideboarding, you need to be very, very careful of over sideboarding and diluting your deck to the point where it doesn't actually function anymore.
Yes.
So I think when your matchup is already this good, it's kind of safer just to really minimize what you're doing. Like you could bring in Island's Intervention, it counters Slay, but what are you taking out for? Same thing with like, Sabotage or Recurring Nightmare, things like that.
Yeah, you only want to bring in like maybe 3 or 4 cards at the most. And I'm not even sure what those are. So players still sideboarding. I mean, this is going to be, Publicitus has to make a big comeback here. So really wants to put some thought into this game 3 here. This critical game 3 cannot lose this game if they want to keep their top 8 hopes alive.
Yeah, and that's the big deal of what I was saying earlier with the fact that it's 2 main deck games and then 3 sideboard games if we go to game 5, is
Right.
that when a matchup is like kind of as lopsided as this seems to be, getting those 2 wins under your belt before even worrying about what your opponent might be doing in the sideboarded games means all you have to do is win one more game and you're home free. It's a huge difference compared to like a best of 3.
Right, right. Um,
Like he
I
only
mean, you
has
still get.
one more win to get.
All right, so players still sideboarding. What do I take out besides Vanquish in Pupicitus's deck? The Inquisitor's Blades maybe don't need to be in there. They maybe could be a bit slow, but not. I mean, maybe you just bring in Mokto over those.
Mokto is unique in that it's either going to be really good or just like completely the worst card that gets madness like devoured.
Right, right.
Um,
Yeah, Mokto is
but
actually risky.
yeah, I mean, being a 5/5 flyer, it's probably better. Like it's definitely better than Vanquish. Is it better than like the extra copies of Slay or Inquisitor's Blade? I'm not sure. Maybe the extra unit is better than the extra weapon.
I mean,
Um,
to be fair, Inquisitor's Blade is actually pretty good because of Granite and Drone and because of its not quite revenge mechanic.
right. That is true.
I think it's better than Bloodletter in this matchup, so who knows?
Okay. The players are ready to get going here as they take a look at their opening hands. Romanova sees 4 power, a couple combust and a devour. No units to be had from his side. He's gonna get rid of that one. Doesn't like it. Pubicitus has a pretty good one over there. Actually, this might be the game he's looking for. He's got Unseen Commando and a Valkyrie Enforcer, Crown Watch Trader, and a Bloodletter. Like all the cards he wants to see.
Yeah, I mean, obviously no 2-drop, but that's fine. Sabotage, not bad either. Something to do on turn 2 at least. And also just getting the information that there's only that permafrost there and it won't be there for very long really helps out.
Presto
Also,
Chaos to
no
play for Romanova.
devour targets for Romanova. Gonna make this take quite a bit longer than he wants it to. Can play the Nocturnal Observer right on turn 3 and start looting, but like we said, our report deck closes the window very quickly.
Right, yeah, you need to be able to get on the board either before them or answer everything they're doing. Like that's kind of how you beat the Arch Report deck. At the moment, Romanova not really on the board early and doesn't really have any control elements either. They are going to be able to play the Nocturnal Observer next turn, or they can play a little bit slowly and just set up to play a aReNGee or a Torgov on 4.
So, Pupicitus is going to want to be able to answer this aReNGee. The lifesteal is going to be relevant, but he's got a couple turns to do it. So I think he'll be fine.
Right, yeah. aReNGee is a card that like is a reason that you'd want to keep in the Vanquishes and the Slays, right? But you know, they are dead in so many other situations in the same exact matchup that it's hard to prepare for everything when you're facing this Feldscar Scream deck. They can actually just attack you on multiple angles. They can just beat you down or they can combo you out.
Right. They just have a lot of very good value units in Torgov and aReNGee, and then just so much synergy that is much more difficult to interact with.
Yeah, what we're seeing this game though is the Argenport deck really kind of flexing its flying muscles with a couple flyers ready to attack for 6 next turn. aReNGee is going to gain a little bit of health back, so unique little racing situation. A couple of lifesteal units trading back and forth.
Would you say Argenport is flexing its quads there? You know, the Unseen Commando.
That thing, I need to get a better view. That is a thick unit.
Oh yeah, definitely. That is the Thunder Thighs himself. So now we get to see Visitors has his choice of Crown Watch Trader. Didn't go for any of the weapons, which I kind of like. We haven't seen any removal come down, and we know there's no removal in his hand. So just playing out as many units as possible while you have the chance, and then throwing the weapons once the removal has either been used after it gets drawn, or just once you have some of these ground threats that you're actually like giving evasion. Here comes aReNGee for 5, and that 5 health gain is not irrelevant. And here comes another aReNGee, so they're both going to have
Second
lifesteal
aReNGee.
still.
Yep, so attack for 10, lifesteal overwhelm next turn. We saw a Romanova scout. We saw an annihilate on top. He kept it there. So he's ready to kill one of these flyers next turn as well. If Pupicitus wants to play Tavrod this turn, it's going to be able to block both, either Rindra, so Rindra probably doesn't just attack. And the annihilate, of course, doesn't answer that.
Can also just put the Inquisitor's Blade on this Crown Watch Trader to get in for the most damage possible. Bloodletter also not bad.
Bloodletter is a pretty major life swing, and it makes it so. I guess there were no good blocks on the 5/3 anyway. It also, attack for 9 on the ground, 6 in the air. See a chump block come out. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
I was a little bit worried about, and there's Annihilate. I was a little bit worried about the lifesteal just keeping Aroma Nova in the game too long to, for Gorgon Fanatics to start coming out. But we already have 2 flying blockers, and we just have so much damage that I don't think the lifesteal from Rangers are going to do it. Oh, but wow, Madness is huge here.
Madness can potentially do a lot. He does have Devour to back it up. It's going to take care of the Crown Watch Trader. We're going to attack for a total of 16. Probably no blocks from Pupicitus, although 16 damage is quite a bit. But when you're 35, you don't really care that much.
This is huge. You just gained 12 life and dealt 16 damage?
That is true.
Plus drew 2 cards?
You get 2 cards out of the deal, too. I guess with the Rindra still like staying alive, that's...
Yeah,
that is a much bigger swing than I originally thought.
I mean, obviously, I think that Pupicitus is still in this game, but wow, it is so much closer now. I mean, this Combust and Annihilate, he's got Romanova has answers now. Doesn't have like a Grenadin drone or something that they really want to combust. Doesn't have a Madness or anything like that. But eventually, he'll find something. And if he has to combust a Torgov, he can do that.
Yeah, that was actually a much better Madness than I originally thought. A huge pickup from a Romanova. Pass the turn back to Pupicitus, who has options. Tavrod among them. It's what he chooses to go with. The attack for 9 comes in. Romanova back down to 14. Tavrod in play. But of course, we know there's 2 combusts in a Romanova's hand. He's got to decide if he wants to just sacrifice one of his Rindras. He can always Dark Return it back.
That's true. He also is probably going to play this Crest of Fury so that next turn he can get a Grenadin drone off this Waystone and then combust with one of those, which could be pretty good. So he's going to just go for the Torgov here. Since Torgov is the least valuable unit on the board, really would like the extra Nightfall trigger, though, to start getting life again. So maybe killing his own Rindra was the correct play. And not using the Crest of Fury, so doesn't get the Grenadin. That's really interesting. I guess just wanted to cast Annihilate this turn.
I wanted to make sure he can, play the Annihilate. Knock Pupicitus down to 10. We've got ourselves a game. Pupicitus, handful of really good cards. Bloodletter among them to kind of swing the lifesteal race again. I do wonder if a Romanova really should have just like sacrificed the Rindra, Dark Returned it, replayed it, attacked for 5 with Nightfall, so lifesteal. Maybe that would have been better, but this way he attacked for 10, just wasn't lifesteal.
Yeah, and his life is not really threatened right now anyway. So, but the way he played it was actually quite smart as well.
Yeah, it definitely worked out for him.
Pupicitus is now in a tough situation. Can use the Bloodletter to put the race back in his favor, which I think he might go for, but can't really play 2 cards other than Bloodletter and Valkyrie Enforcer. If he wants to play any of his 4 drops, he's going to be out of luck. So that's what we're going to see. We're going to see this Bloodletter, and I like the Bloodletter on the Instigator.
Bloodletter on Instigator makes it so these Rindras are going to be like resorted to like chump blocking.
Yeah, and now even if you kill the Instigator, you still have lethal in the air.
Yep. Nightfall does trigger Rindra, gains lifesteal back, so Romanova can get himself back up to 9. He also has Combust to take care of either one of the Flyers or the Instigator. And
has the Grenadin drone to use with it.
Right, yeah.
I think it's going to take out one of the Flyers, and we're going to see maybe a chump block on the Instigator, but I could be wrong.
I think that makes a lot of sense. Like, once you're in 9 health, like, chump the Instigator, you take 1 damage from it instead of 6.
Yeah, and it makes it really hard for Pupicitus to attack then.
Yeah, because he just dies on the way back. Grenadin drone will be the play from a Romanova. See if the Combust comes out to take care of something.
Not that it is really a play that should be made, but he can even combust the Grenadin drone, kill something, and then Dark Return play the Grenadin drone again.
I was actually just gonna say that, and you said it's not something that should be done. I actually think that's a pretty respectable play. It gets you a very, very wide board with an opponent at 5 health. Like, it looks like that might be what he's actually doing. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's just too difficult to play around now.
Like, Pubicitus is at 4 with 2 lethal attacks, 2 lethal units by themselves. And
I mean, Pubicitus still wins because of the Inquisitor's Blade, but it was still really close.
That's what I get for not looking at the other screen.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, oh, Pubicitus has Bloodletter. He can oh, wait. No, he's got...
Oh, right, flying.
He could just fly.
Words. Pubicitus does take that one. I think a very, very well-played game from both sides. Really absolutely. Cool. But yeah, Pubicitus with the showing off the strength of what Inquisitor's Blade really can do. Flying is a very, very relevant keyword.
Yeah, and also, so there was no Gorgon Fanatic that game, as you know, can happen pretty frequently when you only have 4 of a card in a deck. But it was still really close. It's not like Pubicitus just steamrolled or anything like that. I mean, Torgov and Rindra and all those cards are still relevant even without Gorgon Fanatic. So this match can still very easily go either way. I mean, obviously, it's a bit harder for Pubicitus. Can't drop a single game here, but only 2 more matches to win.
Yeah, I mean, he a lot of back and forth in that one, but eventually Pubicitus did find the lethal line. And yeah, I mean, if you get 2 more games like that, he's going to be in pretty good shape. He's got to be happy with the way that one went.
All right, so that's going to be an easy mulligan for Pubicitus. On the other side, Romanova might elect to keep this with the Quarry. Double Quarry and 2 crests is a lot of card selection.
Yeah, he does decide to keep it. Pubicitus plays a Crest of Vengeance, takes a look at his top card. Giving it some real thought, it's a Crown Watch Trader. He's got to decide if he's ever, like, how soon he plans to get the second Justice.
Yeah, the problem is that there's no other threats, which means that, you know, turn 2, turn 3, probably not going to be playing a threat if you're drawing a Crown Watch Trader. So I like putting that on the bottom. Finds that Justice Sigil, so I think it's worth it. But yeah, Pubicitus really needs some threats here. Otherwise, it's going to be over really quickly because Romanova just has way too much card selection.
Yeah, 3 Quarries now. Plus, he's able to scout twice with the 2 crests that he had.
Yep.
But, you know, Sabotage takes a look at a very, very frightening hand, but workable. Maybe you take one of the Quarries, then they have 2 instead of 3. Maybe that matters. Who knows?
Yeah, I like, you know, finding Justice Sigils for Pubicitus. He does need the Justice Influence, but also really needs threats. So maybe he'll end up missing that Crown Watch Trader.
Yeah, especially with the drawing the Justice Sigil right away, like the ultimate punish.
I mean, I think it's definitely playing to win. Is trying to get to those earlier threats, right, taking a little bit of a bigger risk, trying to get those 2 and 3 drops, get some game plan, you know, or get your game plan going a little earlier, because just playing Crown Watch Trader on 4 against a deck with this many answers against it doesn't seem ideal. But if that is the only thing you can do securely, then maybe that is what you were supposed to do.
But yeah, the Sabotage, Pubicitus is giving it a lot of thought. Obviously, there's 6 good targets. You can reasonably take any of them. He has a second Sabotage in his hand. He can totally reasonably just take out 2 Quarries if that's like a line he wants to take. You can also rip an Annihilate. You can also just play the 1 Sabotage and maybe wait and see how the game develops before taking a second card.
Yeah, see how some of the Quarries end up and maybe take a card that gets pulled off a Quarry, like a Haunting Stream or something like that. And so the one saving grace here for Pubicitus is that Romanova does not have any power. And there's that Haunting Scream I was talking about.
Yeah, Romanova scouted twice, played a Quarry, never found a third power. He's got another Quarry digging, trying to churn through his deck as much as possible to find that power. There's a Granite Waystone. That's gonna get played. So in the meantime of playing all those Quarries, he did eventually bin a Rindra. So Rindra will get Haunting Scream back. Deal 5, gain 5, up to 30 goes Romanova, down to 19 Pubicitus goes after the Nightfall draw.
Yeah, critically trigger Nightfall, which is going to help Romanova find even more power. And if he can find a Dark Return, he's got that flying charge lifesteal Rindra down there in the bin.
Yeah, so it took 2 quarries, but eventually we got there, and pretty major swing there. And yeah, like you said, now that it's nightfall, these other Rindras are more likely to come down as we look at 2 cards next turn. Pupicitus, though, it has he did finally find a unit. It's not the unit he'd probably want to play out with no other units on board, but it is a Valkyrie Enforcer that he can still play. You might want to sabotage, clear the way, like take out the Annihilate that he knows is there. But again, there's still a permafrost. It's a tough spot for Pupicitus to be in.
Yeah, like we said, just needs threats and just isn't finding them. And there's Gorgon Fanatic. We already used Haunting Scream, but Gorgon Fanatic on an empty board is still pretty reasonable. Finally, a Valkyrie Enforcer target, though.
Yep, that's a very good one, of course. As it does come down, these cards, like, Romanova can still just attack and like offer a trade. It doesn't need to use the Annihilator Permafrost to deal with this quite yet. Unless he has nothing else to do, in which case, like, you probably just choose to do it. Like, you play out the Annihilate just to have something to do with your turn.
So this Sabotage is really good here. I mean, obviously, doesn't actually do much as far as, like, the hand. There's just so much removal, so much redundancy. But it gives Pupicitus a lot of information, which he can then use to play what threats he wants to get combusted, play what threats he wants to get permafrosted, etc., and maybe navigate through all this removal to find a victory.
Right. Yeah. The value of information when you're looking at like very, very like high level players, the information that they have can really go a very long way. So with Pupicitus, now he knows like how he needs to sequence things to play around what he knows about, and he can really take full advantage of that.
Yeah, and I mean, not that he has too many options, but he knows that this should run a Romanova out of most of his removal, and just got the combust. Doesn't really have the units to combust though. So if he can get this Interrogator combusted the first time, he might be able to just Dark Return it back and get a ton of advantage out of it before a Romanova really finds something that they're willing to combust.
Yeah, I think it's the setup Pupicitus was going for. So I think he needs to not take the block here and try to force the combust out from a Romanova, because you don't want him to have two. You don't want him to have 2 combust in his hand.
The problem is your life is pretty low, but I think you have enough time to take that risk.
Yeah, I think it's high enough. He does choose to not block. Down to 13, he goes. Crest of Chaos is the play for Romanova. Top card is a Gorgon Fanatic. Giving it some thought.
Yeah, really wants to find that extra primal influence, but Gorgon Fanatic is very good. I mean, we talked about how important that card is in this matchup several times.
And it did stay on top. Romanova predictably plays the combust, takes care of the Interrogator. And Pupicitus did set up for this Dark Return. He's going to get a card draw off of the Interrogator, and also set up a situation where this combust is kind of dead unless Romanova can draw a unit he can play in the same turn.
I mean, might play the Fanatic and then just combust the Fanatic immediately, but then you're losing out on a potential 3 cards to draw. Yeah, so I think that's still okay from Pupicitus' side. I mean, it's a bit unfortunate. Oh yeah, there's this weird spectator bug that I'm just noticing. Okay, I understand now what was going on with the 1 billion cards in people's hands. Okay, anyways. But yeah, now Pupicitus is in a situation where Haunting Scream and Dark Return are very good. Or excuse me, a Romanova is. But Pupicitus drawing that key extra Interrogator, I think, is going to close out the game for him very quickly, unless a Romanova just finds an answer to this Interrogator. Like
the attack for 7 lifesteal there is actually a huge deal. Pupicitus' life total was kind of dwindling, and the fact that he's able to gain 7 there is huge. Dark Return can get back that Rindra that we saw get Haunting Screamed earlier. Like that was still this game, right?
Yeah, but no primal influence.
Oh, he still can't play it, right? That's why he can't play the other 2 in his hand.
Yep. Devour is the best draw for a Romanova for sure, right? Because Madness, Devour, that Interrogator. Then you have your own Interrogator to Dark Return. All right, Tavrod.
Combust might be better now.
Yeah, Combust is definitely better now. I think we're gonna have to see this charging Rindra come out, but this looks really grim for a Romanova. I think Pupicitus is gonna tie this up here.
No, this is actually set up pretty well for a Romanova with this Madness in hand. That's a lot of damage if Pupicitus doesn't have any blockers. Now,
well, he does have a Vanquish.
Oh, did he just pick that up?
Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
the
and he's
Vanquish.
got a
Okay.
slay. Yep.
Well, now it's grim. Now it's very grim.
Yeah, now it's grim.
Attack
And he
for
picks up
12.
another Tavrod and a Bloodletter off that Tavrod trigger. That is so much advantage. Holy cow. There's too many cows.
Too many. And they're all holy. Tavrod,
Yep.
there he is.
There he is. The holy 10-7 himself. Well, there's
Combust
Madness
and
Combust, but
Diplo
it doesn't do it.
That's not going to save him, no.
Many Tav gods on the field. Your pagan sacrifices do nothing in the face of Tav God.
Well, we are going to be going to a game number. Well, actually, no, we're still going to be going to a game 3 or game 5.
That's the jump block, but still just gets to attack with the Interrogator for lethal. Really close, though. Way closer than it could have been.
Yeah, Madness can do some pretty powerful things. Aromanova, if Aromanova drew that second primal source, I don't know, 3 or 4 turns sooner, then I think this game takes a whole different shape as the Rendras start coming down, but not quite what happened.
Yeah, so this Bloodletter is going to end this game, and that's going to tie it up, like we said. But man, that was, I mean, Pupicitus and Aromanova, for a minute there, those last 2 turns, they still did not know, or that last turn, they did not know who was going to win there.
No, there were chances for both sides to win that game. Pupicitus did come out on top as he does send the game or the match to game number 5. Argentport mid-range showing that, you really can't afford to stumble. And that's what happened those last 2 games for the screen player, as he just didn't really have anything to do for the first couple of turns. He didn't have his influence on time and was able to get punished as a result.
Yeah, both of those last 2 games were, I think, very interesting and very cool. I mean, obviously the Fnatic games were exciting too, but for different reasons, whereas these 2 games had a lot of play back and forth.
Yeah, for sure. Even the last couple of turns of both those games, we didn't know who was going to win until, they actually played the lethal blow. I still believe that from the point of view of a Romanova that game, I think that he had a chance to win with the Madness and the Rindra and all that.
Right. I mean, it was super close, right? He was putting, he got himself with just a Tavrod on board, not even facing down lethal next turn, and putting his opponent to 9 with, a charging unit in the void, charging lifesteal unit in the void. So definitely a defensible position.
We're ready for game number 5, the final game of this quarterfinal round. As we don't have a hand cam on Pupicitus yet, we do have a main cam on a Romanova. Looking at 2
Islands
power.
intervention. Whoa.
We're like at 2 power, among which is a Crest of Fury and an Amethyst Waystone. Island's intervention, is the card that came in from the sideboard. It looks like probably just to counter specifically Slay.
Yeah, it's also an extra torch against Unseen Commando and Valkyrie Enforcer and things like that. So
that is true.
Not bad.
No, so it is.
Be found though.
It has multiple uses here for sure. Diplomatic Seal is the draw for Romanova. You can go ahead and play that on, well, his choice really. He needs a second copy of each of these colors, I believe. Maybe not Fire. So really Shadow or Justice, or Shadow or Primal.
So 2 really interesting things are going on here. One, Romanova has the Gorgon Fnatic game. We got Scream, we got Fnatic in the opening hand. That's really good. But Pupicitus also has a very good hand. 2 2-drops and a Valkyrie Enforcer to answer the first Gorgon Fnatic. So this could
we're going to get a game.
Yeah,
we are going to get a game here.
So I think you just play the Rip Knife because of how valuable the Valkyrie Enforcer silence is, and then potentially next turn, or excuse me, you already have the Fnatic target.
Yeah, Fnatic's already in play. I would probably agree with you if Fnatic wasn't in play, but decisions to be made here though. If he wants to still attack with the 2/2, it's very likely to trade with the Fnatic. I think that would have been likely either way, whether you silence first or second.
Yeah,
like if you silence after attacking, like you have run the risk of him just blocking, and then like he has the Haunting Scream anyway.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's a little tough to decide whether to Ripjaw attack there because you really want to just play the Inquisitor's Blade on it next turn. But if you're gonna block like that, then you should have attacked because you could have just got the Warcry instead.
Right, it works out the same, except
I guess
minus one
you
Warcry.
want to trade with the 2 Grenadins, I guess.
Island's Intervention getting some value, kills a Valkyrie Enforcer. We see Granite Waystone and another Gorgon Fanatic come out. Pupicitus draws for a turn. Looks like it's a Tavrod. He plays a Crest. Takes a look at his top card. It's a second copy of Tavrod. He likes it. It's going to stay right there on top, safe and sound. Assassin is the play, 2/2 Warcry Deadly. As the third Gorgon Fanatic comes off the top of the deck for Aroma Nova.
Yeah, wow. Definitely going to be a Scream target at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. Possibly as early as next turn. Fanatic number 3 comes down after the trade of the Fanatic and the Assassin.
So here comes the Tavrod, and there's no answer for it. There is a Madness in a Romanova's hand, but no way to actually kill the Tavrod.
I think a Romanova's pretty happy to just Madness, draw the 3 cards off the Gorgon Fanatic and just try to revisit from there. You still have the Haunting Scream to really abuse that. He does choose to just Haunting Scream back one of his older Fanatics and attack that way. Also reasonable.
Okay. Yeah, I think this is fine. It's less power, gets him, and gets the charge going in the Void for a potential Dark Return. So I think that's fine.
Right, that works
and
out.
now we got the key Devour for this to answer this Tavrod.
Romanova needs a 5th power, but if he draws it, it's going to be pretty powerful with the Manus plus Devour combo. He also has Annihilate. Honestly, just having 3 Manuses, his plan might just be like play a Madness every turn for the next 3 turns and just beat you with your own stuff. Like that's still worth a lot of damage. You don't need to combo anything to deal that much damage.
I don't think it's going to be able to get through 2 Tavrods, though. But it looks like Pupicitus is just playing in Vera's favor here. And then going to put the Inquisitor's Blade on Tavrod, which makes this Madness plan a lot more viable.
Yeah, I mean, Romanova's going to fall down. That's a 3rd Tavrod. 10-7 Tavrod off the top.
But here's the problem. Tavrod can't block Tavrod anymore for your Madness plan. So now it's actually...
No, just 3 Madnesses is 24 damage.
Yeah. So this is actually pretty real from Romanova. If you just had 2 5/7 Endurance Tavrods on the board, then, Romanova doesn't have that game plan. But now this is a really fast clock. And there's no way Pupicitus expects triple Madness.
No, unless he sabotages. Porch is among the draws with a Quarry and a Granite Waystone. Granite Waystone is the 5th power. That means Devour is actually live. I'm not even sure he wants to Devour there. Like, his Madness play was a winning line. But it looks like he's
fine. I think you can expect Pupicitus to play some more threats, especially when you saw him draw 2 off of Tavrod.
Yeah, I mean, a 10-7 Tavrod is actually lethal for a Romanova.
Yep.
So, I guess Devour still works out. Doesn't matter all that much. He's got winning plays all across the board.
Wow, and Pupicitus sniffs out extra... Oh, no! Oh, that's lethal!
That is incredible. Inquisitor's Blade,
also,
Destiny
I
off
think
the
he
top.
had lethal anyway because of Torch, but still.
He did, yes. But the fact that Inquisitor's Blade off the top is going to allow the Madness to just present an exact lethal from a Romanova. He's going to head on to our semifinals. Felnscar Scream takes down Argenport midrange 3-2. It was a nail biter up until the very, very end.
Yeah, wow. That was a really exciting last game as well. I think the Scream deck just produces very interesting games in general.
Yeah, there's always a lot of lines you can take when you're like playing Haunting Scream. And really any void-based deck, very, very many lines like you can always take.
All right, before we end this round, let me just double check. So let me just go over the bracket really quickly. We had Moosh defeated by Child Roland. Moosh on that, I believe on Argenport. Child Roland on Darkheart. So number 8 seed defeating number 1 seed, moving on to semifinals there. Vampus losing to Paradox. So we see Huru defeated by another Argenport player. So we have 1 Argenport loss, 1 Argenport win. Notorious GHP goes down to Tin Man. Tin Man on, I believe, Chalice, and Notorious GHP on the other Felnscar Scream list. So Felnscar Scream 1-1, Argenport 1-1, and Darkheart 1-0. Confirmed best deck.
Darkheart.
Yeah, Yeah,
We are going to take a short break, but before we do, I do want to talk to you guys a little bit about how you can support the aReNGee Eternal community. If you are enjoying the show and you want to show your support, we do have a few ways that you can do that. We are actually currently Twitch partners, so you can subscribe and cheer on the channel. Twitch subs can get our custom emotes, and they get access to the quote command. And you guys may have seen the quote command get used. It's a lot of fun. We also have a Patreon. It's the primary source of our funding. It funds all of our tournament prize pools. So if you do want to support the growing tournament scene via Patreon, you can do that. Invitationals have had historically a $250 prize pool, and the year-end championship, we're trying to get at least $3,000. It'd be nice to be able to do that. First place, $1,000. As the Patreon grows, so will all of our prize pools. So if you want to see that happen, you guys can head on over to patreon.com/aReNGee Eternal. So is there anything else that you want to add, Gabe?
I think that's about it for this round. I'm excited for the semifinals, which we will get back to you after this short break.